My name is Melanie Szunczycka. I was born in the United States and I am 28 years old. I'm half American and half Polish, and I've grown up about half my life in Europe and half my life in the United States. In some ways it was my decision and in some ways not, because I moved here when I was 15, so obviously still living with my parents. Then I went to high school here in Warsaw, to the American school. I went back to the United States for university, and then after university decided to move back to Warsaw. In the United States I grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, because my mother worked for Ford Motor Company, which is headquartered there, and this is a suburb of Detroit, and everything there is related to cars. My father is Polish and he's been working here in Warsaw for a long time. So my mother and my brother and I moved here to Warsaw to be with him. I work for a company called Agfa in their customer service. One side of it is a printing company and the other side is dealing with X-ray machines for hospitals. I work actually quite strict hours, either 9 to 5 or 10 to 6. And then in the evenings, I am either playing football or I have once a week Polish lessons, and I also have art classes that I go to every Friday. And in these classes, I'm doing textile art. So also at home in the evening, I'm working on this. I'm personally really interested in history. So in that sense, I really like to prefer to live in Europe over the United States. There's a lot more history here, a lot more old buildings, old things to see and to think about and visit. People don't perceive me as a foreigner because I look, I think, fairly stereotypically Polish. So I think it's more that other people don't understand why I don't understand them, if that makes sense. Because if someone is speaking to me too fast in Polish and I don't catch the beginning, then I have a lot of trouble understanding what they're saying. And that's very confusing, I think, and frustrating sometimes for other people. I started to play football only when I was 11 years old. I grew up playing this 11v11 game, and I think I only really learned to play futsal in university. I actually have to change my style of play a bit, because when I play with other women, I know that I can go in for much harder tackles and win them. And I know when I play against men that I can't, so you have to play in a different way. I think I joined Etnoliga 4 years ago now, I think. My team from my work at the time, because at the time I was working at Polin Museum, we joined as a work team to Etnoliga because we were looking for a league that allowed both men and women to play. It's a very international team. We have 3 people maybe from Poland, and that's it. Every single other person is from a different country. When it comes to seeing football as a tool of integration here and how Etnoliga works, I think what I see from it maybe is that the people who play in Etnoliga already for a few years, you really start to know each other quite well. And I think what I also see is that, especially for men who play in Etnoliga for a few years, they start to have more respect for the female players. Because you can see really what some women can do that you've maybe never considered before. I think in this case, I mean respect for people's skills in the sense of not just treating someone as an accessory on the field, but really wanting to include them in the game. I think Etnoliga is great and I love it, and I like to play football very much, so it's really a nice experience for me. I see myself staying in Warsaw for the next few years. I think because in some ways I'm quite settled here. I do think that at some point I would move again, but not necessarily back to the US, but to a different country in Europe. My home is where my parents are, so for now that's here.